Well, hello there guys, and welcome to a look at the last Roman DLC. This is one of my more impressive battles, so I wanted to show it off to you guys. I am playing as Flavius Belisarius of the Eastern Roman Empire, trying to reclaim the glory of old Rome, and here we go. We're going to go ahead and take a look here at Flavius himself and get started in this particular Let's Play. I'm really gonna just show you what I did, because this battle was completely not in my favor, and we still managed to get an amazing victory.
Reinforcements have been spotted. But do not be fooled. Be wary and be prepared.
So as you know here, we knew that the enemy was going to have a massive amount of reinforcements, and this is what Flavius is trying to get across to his men. We have a lot of enemies coming, and there was no way I thought I could win this battle. But you guys will soon see what happens and the absolute strength of the Roman Empire. As you can see here, what I did was I did not take a standard formation. Before the match started, I actually started with a formation that would elongate my troops, making a sort of line, knowing that there was going to be a massive amount of enemies flanking me from the right side. So we're going to go ahead and see what happens here. But just a really awesome, bloody battle. 3 armies of enemies, actually, coming towards me. And at this point, I was just going to go ahead and basically die a glorious death. My men are moving forward. As you can see, these Preventators are incredible sword infantry. For any of you that know why they have these funny white hats, let me know. I think it's really interesting. But nonetheless, I was on the defensive, and I decided to move forward. Here's why. We had a whole right force over here that could flank me, and I figured I don't want to hang around and let the enemy get close, let this force get close too, and ultimately attack me, crushing me and defeating me right away. So we decided to move forward. As you can see, our men are still in formation, except for our horses, which I sent ahead of the men to sort of scout, and I also wanted to get them into this tree cover here to maybe form a sort of ambush for the enemy. As you can see, the enemy is moving pretty quickly now, and they're trying to close me into a nice little box, which is a pretty great idea. Now, I actually sent some horsemen over here, the Battle of the Horsemen, and they actually started killing a few of the enemy. As you can see here, they are slashing and cutting away at each other. More enemy horsemen show up to reinforce their friends, and at this point, it's an utter bloodbath between both sides. We're going to go ahead and zoom out a bit. As you can see, one horseman broke off, and at this point, we started getting into it with a lot more of their horse units. At this point, I saw this large contingent of men, and I decided, let me attack them with this front rank of units of Preventators, and around them, I'm going to go ahead and bring my spearmen, closing them into a deadly vice grip. So here we go, our men are charging in, and this battle, really, many men died on both sides. As you can see, they're the first in, and right away they take a nasty hit from what looks to be maybe some sort of archer unit, or I should say missile unit. And there we go. Our men keep fighting. Look at that amazing close combat. The men were definitely prepared, and as you can see, they bring in reinforcements to the fight. It looks at first that our men are going to buckle and yield. But the fight is very even. As you can see right there, a guy just got a javelin through the throat, which is awesome. And at this point, I brought some cavalry around. This is something I tend to do in these battles. And I asked for it to attack the enemy from the rear. This was the real crux of the battle. Hitting the enemy from the rear would destroy the first army, because when the enemy is basically hemmed in like this, they don't know what to do. So, of course, they take off running. And this is the perfect opportunity for my men to slaughter the Ostrogoths. They're just going to be cut to shreds. As you can see, we are trying to retake the glory of the Roman Empire, and we can't do that by being nice and diplomatic. We need to do that by utterly eradicating races that do not follow our strict code of Roman governance, and this includes the Ostrogoths. So as you can see here, I left no mercy whatsoever. The enemy is bringing in some reinforcements to try to help their friends, and they even bring in some cavalry units, which is pretty amazing. Sadly, up here, our horsemen did die. They fought a glorious battle, and against nearly 3 or 4 enemy cavalry units, they finally got taken down by those skirmishers. As you can see, those guys getting hit in the chest with spears, in the neck. our men just had to take off. It was not a good situation for them. At this point, I was sure the battle was lost. Sure, we're crushing these enemy right here, but we've got an entirely new army on the way. My men are tired. They're sick of fighting the enemy. All they want to do is go home, have maybe a nice glass of wine with the rest of the boys, but this battle is stopping them. As the enemy approached, I realized I would not have time to form formations before the enemy actually got into their formations. So what I decided was I'm going to go ahead and just charge right into the center, try to split the center, and we did manage to kill the general, which is a huge bonus. I also kept my general back here so that he wouldn't be wounded or hurt. Right here, Flavius Belisarius himself. I didn't want him dead. And if you guys take a look right there, you could see the utter carnage left by the enemy. This guy looks to be maybe one of our own men, probably a commander. That golden vest gives him away. Unfortunately, he will not be fighting another day. Here we go. Our men are continuing the charge. And as you can see, the enemy was a bit confused at this point. They expected us to draw up some battle lines, but we weren't having it. Our men were ready to kill. We had a ton of bloodlust. And here we go, trying to crush into the enemy lines. Over here, you could see our general stands back here. And actually, sorry, this was a medium. No, this is our general. Sort of stands back here, just surveying the battle, as a general should. We're also sending in a spear unit here to assist these two units. Unfortunately, in this battle, our horsemen did get absolutely crushed. Our cavalry are getting killed. And actually, if you could see here, these are the Germanic, the Ostrogothic heavy infantry units, the Juvenes. These guys are rough, drunk, extremely dangerous, always willing to sacrifice their lives just to kill a few Romans, and this is where I thought we might have some trouble. As you can see, they're closing in on our troops, really causing a lot of trouble here for our men. Our men are fighting back pretty bravely, but as you can see, you can even see over here, a guy got stabbed in the stomach, and he kept fighting. These Juvenes are hard to kill, and it really shows in this battle. Let's take a look over here at the perspective of our men at the Juvenes. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be facing these guys. I'd probably tuck tail and run. Over here, this is where I thought the battle for sure was lost. Look at this massive support from the enemy, a huge amount of spear infantry, and the enemy also seems to be beating one of our spearman units over here on the right side. How could we possibly win here? There's no way, right? At this point, my only people I have left are my swordsmen, which, by the way, I told you in the beginning of the battle, they're absolutely awesome. And we are fighting the Juvenes, the elite of the enemy, as well as some light Gothic pikemen. These guys really look like a nasty force, so I slowly crept my men up in testudo formation, trying to slam into the right side here of the enemy. Of course, it was tough because the enemy kept getting closer, trying to stop me from flanking them, but we're going to continue trying, obviously. And this is not a battle where any prisoners can be taken for either side. As you can see, the Juvenes are getting closer and closer to utterly slaughtering all of my Preventatores. They're just getting mangled here. But all we can do is hold out and wait. Luckily, our Preventatores and my spearmen are trained in battle, as you can see there by the rank. So even though they're not as good as these Juvenes, they can put up quite a fight for a little bit of a time, for quite a while, I should say. Here we go. Beautiful. Did you guys see that? That was awesome. Just a stomach stab and then a flip. That was some kung fu shit right there. So at this point, you can see these spears are causing us a lot of problem. Our men are trying to break through, but the enemy spears keep reaching out and finding a target, and those spears are lethal. Luckily, we bring in our cavalry, one of my favorite things to do in a battle like this. And at first I was concerned that because of the enemy spear infantry, the cavalry would be decimated, but this gave our men a time for a beautiful, beautiful charge into the enemy as they were distracted by our cavalry, and this is truly where the slaughter of the Ostrogoths begins. I should say, after this battle, we never had a problem with Ostrogoths anymore. They learned this day that Roman steel and Roman courage would utterly annihilate them and wouldn't even allow their families to survive. As you can see here, I ordered my men to attack the usurpers, to immediately go after and kill every Ostrogoth in their path. And on the way, a slaughter began. As you can see, Ostrogoths being stopped by their men just to get their heads cut off, just to get stabbed and killed. We had no interest in keeping them alive. Look at that utter decapitation. a lot of them did get away. And over here we could see the remnants of many major battles. The cavalry attack over here, where our men fought bravely to kill the enemy. And of course, the main point of the battle. I call it standing next to the olive grove. And as you guys can see, this was a bloodbath. We managed to utterly crush and destroy the entire Ostrogothic tribe. And this is what it looks like. I mean, if you can't imagine just how nasty this is, you're crazy. You can see that this line elongates from over here. It also elongates all the way to this side. And I believe after this, the Ostrogoths only had about half of their army left. And all of these armies that they had left were actually defensive units for the cities. So this was just really, really awesome. We can take a look over here. Look at that. Even more dead men. This is, of course, where our men encounter the Ostrogothic heavy infantry. One of these guys seems to be levitating. Ugh. Well, I don't know what that's about. But as you can see, really, really great carnage here. This battle I named just one of my favorite battles, simply because of the fact that I never expected to beat these guys in this battle, and I wanted to record a glorious defeat, but I ended up recording an actual glorious victory, which is pretty awesome, to say the least. Anyway, guys, if you enjoy videos like this, and particularly if you enjoy Rome Total War, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. It always helps. I always like to hear your opinion on what videos you enjoy, what prefer, etc. So we're going to go ahead and try to finish up this battle. Obviously, we have no control over the troops. This is merely a battle replay of an earlier battle, but we can see that we weren't letting anyone survive. Even over here, a bunch of Germans had to be slaughtered. I'm going to go ahead and just leave it here so you guys can at least see the casualty counts. I think that's only fair. We'll go ahead and pan over the battlefield itself so that we can take an overhead view of the dead. I always like to do that. What can I say? I'm a bit morbid in this respect, but look at that. Piles and piles of dead men, and the end of an entire tribe. Some of the actual armor these guys had was really upper class, I would say. Like, just look at that cuirass for the horse. Looks like a nice bronze cuirass. So as you can see, guys, there we go. It was a Pyrrhic victory. I hope we get to see the stats. And there we go, guys. The enemy had 1201. We've got 839 men remaining. And I hope you guys remember, even if you're outnumbered, you can always. And I hope you guys like a look at the Last Emperor DLC, and we'll consider buying it. Take care.